public sector or they are in the private sector?
Many, for example, many are private. For example, your house, but there's some also public house because some people can't afford a house, not an apartment. But many are private. They are established by private companies, built. But like Zhejiang Normal University, there are some apartments built by university. They also we can say it's public, but if I give you, it become a private one, not a public ones. Some are different. But actually, communist, just a public one is just a small portion, I think, small percent in China. But the normal university is a public university, but many are private universities now. So that's also many changed. So I just tell you, because it went to in the new year, since 1978, this meeting setting out policies on reform and opening up reform. In 1978, China began reform and opening up to the outside world. It initiated renewal of Chinese education enterprise and brought about a wide range of reforms in Chinese education over a long period of time. So, in 1978 is a very important time in Chinese history because the Cultural Revolution, Deng Xiaoping, they think it negated the time revolution, I think, to a new era. Okay, the United National College entrance examination was resumed. Gaokao, in Chinese we say Gaokao, because in Cultural Revolution, there's no college entrance examination, because the education was destroyed, so in that time, it's resumed. The Gaokao took place from 7 to 9 June. So it lasts 3 days or 2 days. It depends on your subject. In 2017, this year, 9.4 million people took the exam, and the admission ratio was about 80%. So that many people can go to universities. It's just which one you can go. Some in different layers, top universities and vocational colleges, and just some are supported by the province.
So this Gaokao is for the undergraduate studies?
Yeah. If you want to become a college student, you have to all the students from after high school graduation. So graduate high school, they will took the exam.
So after high school graduation, you have to take part in this Gaokao.
Yeah.
And the score of your Gaokao will determine that which discipline you are going to get. For example, if you score too much in the Gaokao, so you will have admission in a better college or a better discipline of education. Or if you have very less marks, so what does the marks determine in the Gaokao?
Yeah, in Chinese Gaokao, there are different forms. Some in province, some are just cut in two parts. One is social, and one is natural. So if you, everyone should attend is about Chinese, English, the course, the subject, Chinese, English, and but in some parts of the north, maybe Russian, so different, or math. If you are social, you will, the subject is about politics and history, something like that. Even natural.
Is it like GRE or TOEFL or the American system of examination?
It's different from American system. There's some chemistry, physics, biology, and it depends on your the grades you get. If some 4 schools or very higher grades, they can go to the top university. You just so just not very have a low grades, you can go to.
So if you are a student and after high school graduation you tend to go to the medicine or engineering or chemistry, or you want to become a pilot or a soldier or whatever. So what determines that which discipline of life that you are going to adopt? This Gaokao score, everyone has to appear in this Gaokao, and the Gaokao score will determine that which university now you are going to join on, and whether or not you can study in chemistry or aeronautics or any other discipline of education.
I know. After Gaokao, after you finish, you will have your scores, and you can select, you can decide which major you want. You can decide. So, but some people maybe can't, because I say it's very competitive. I want to go to Tsinghua University. Everyone want to go to Tsinghua University, so you have to get higher rankings yourself. Because there are many 9.4 million people. So your selection. But in some universities, in the first year, they don't. They just they just don't take the major. Just about is a social science or natural science. When you go to university, you then in the second year or third year, you will pick up or select your majors. There's a difference. But some university, from start, you select your major.
One thing I would like to clarify here. In our country, there is a compulsory education, 5 to 16 years. When you finish your matric, up to grade 10, it's a compulsory and free. After matriculation, college education is somehow free but not compulsory. So everyone cannot ask for the rights to be admitted to college. So this depends on your scores. Some colleges conduct NTS. Through NTS they give admission to students. Not everyone goes to the college because it's not compulsory. It's not comes under fundamental rights. So you cannot claim that this is my right. But if you score high, then you can go. So this is the situation even in Pakistan. This time, many students did not get admission to colleges after the matric exam.
In China, there's no, because many universities just select what I want you. Depends on the scores or the grades. The score. One paper is 150 scores. Depends on your scores. Not others. There are some private universities, but you will consider private universities. They have their tuition is much higher. Some people may, because they are poor, they may select public university. Public is very cheap.
Like in our country, we do have the entry test at university level, and then we have merit criteria, which is devised by each university, and 50 marks are given to the aptitude test, and remaining 50% marks are given to the degree which the student is holding from the last qualification one. And at college level, we have different criteria depend on the institutions, and each has its own criteria, and the student who there are 3 to 4 subjects for the area in which student get the admission, like pre-medical, science subject is mostly high than the art subjects. So in college, where class 16 and level 16 and 17 we usually go there, we don't have compulsory test, but we do have the merit based on which student get the admission. But at university level, we have compulsory aptitude test, and then we get the admission of relevant field.
I can't understand the whole because my listening comprehension is not very good. But I just know in China also it's the same. Different majors, you have to different scores in one universities because you know one major has law, medicine, or business management. Something. It means you can get higher salaries after graduation. So the scores you have to much higher when you want to select that major, something like that. Okay, I will go on my lecture. So I told that very few students are exempt due to exceptional or special talent. Not everyone will have to join the Gaokao. Some students, because for example, they have some special talents. They are sports stars, or they some join the Olympic Games, something like that, or some have very special talents. And they will have interview, only interview, and the officials will decide I want you or not. So very few, maybe less than 5% or maybe 1%. So I can say it's very fair and competitive. Very competitive and very fair. Because one of my students is male. We think they are officials, maybe they think you can go to very good university, in fact not. Because they have no special talents, you just like us, go to the same university. But I don't know, if you are president or the higher level, I don't know, maybe they send their children to America, I know some higher senior officials, they send their children abroad. So many people have changed their lives by this exam. So it's very important for people who are upward. Look, this is a picture of the Gaokao. The students, it's not an exam for examination, they just prepare. Look, many books, examination papers, they have to prepare. Is a picture. So I don't know how it's in Pakistan. Students are work hard because they want to compete with each other.
It's the same for medical. When you apply for medical colleges, you have to prepare yourself for the entry test. So students go through different books, textbooks, and they have different type of preparatory questions. So they go and prepare themselves. And there are some academies, they prepare students for such exams.
Yes. This is just for some arts, some if they want to learn music or learn arts, maybe they don't have to read so many books. But it's just for ordinary students. And this is also a picture. Do you know what? It is snow?
No.
No. Yes.
Celebration.
Yeah, it's a paper because this is the day before the examination day. So paper. They celebrate. Okay, it's finished. I'm released. So this is these people will join the exam because they don't have to write. Have to write, have to read. So it's so you can see it's very competitive because they have such a big stress.
Do we have such activity in our program?
What?
Do we have such activity in our program?
Activity
In our program?
in our program.
During the lecture.
No. So these load papers, books. Okay, the government also initiated another project, 211 project. Do you know this 211 project in China?
No.
Okay, 211 project is a project of national key universities and colleges with the intent of raising the research standards of high-level universities and cultivating strategies for society economic development. Do you know, 211 project is from the 21st century, 100 university. It's 211. 21st century, 100 university. Because the government thinks, because China is very big, have many universities, and the government think I can't spread money one by one or the average. I should pick up some good university, give them special spot. So this project, 100 is the government wants to give special spot to 100 universities because China, there are different forms of education is about 3,000 about this time. So you can say it's a very this income. This, for example, if I give $1 every people, they can do nothing. If I give $10, $100, give only one person, they will do much thing because they can open your companies. It's the same idea in China. I don't give you average money because they are all public universities. So the government pick up 100 universities and give them special support. So in 2017, this year, there are a total of 112 higher education students supported by the 200 project. So it's 2 projects. So if you are a member of 211 project, member of 200, the students, some companies will only include all the graduates from 211 project universities. There's another project, 985 project, in May 1998. Okay, so 21289 is 98, May 5. In just during the centennial celebration of the founding of Peking University, President Jiang Zemin proposed that China needs to build a group of world-class universities. So it's 4 world-class universities.
So what does 985 means?
985. Yes, 98.
985.
Yeah.
What does it reflect? What does it mean? As the
1998 you were the
985 institutions of
no. Why is it called 985?
Why?
1985. Because it's initiated in 1998 May.
May the 5th month.
Yeah. May 1988.
May the 5th month.
So, the 1985 projects, universities, the total of 34 education were approved by the MOE, Ministry of Education, to join the 80 club. So, all these 34 universities were selected from the 211 project university. So, they are very elite. They are from the best, choose the best. The university of 211 is good universities, China. The 98 is very good because the aim was to establish world-class universities. Also, the 985 project will gain much more money, financial support, because the aim is for world-class universities. So it's different from 211. They select from 211 project. But as time change, the side effects of 211 or 985 has appeared. Do you know?
Yes.
Do you know? You can imagine what's the negative
Negative.
The negative of 211 or 1985 project, do you know? You can imagine.
The negative impact of these projects.
Yeah.
So some universities will flourish, and the
Yeah.
others will remain stagnant, and they will have no innovation, nothing new, and the other universities will go up and up.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
this
yeah.
is the negative impact. So one side you improve, the other side they
Yes.
remain the same, and you make social injustice in the society.
Yeah. As time changes, the negative impact. For example, yes, because once you select as 211, you will get special assistant, financial assistance support. So I don't have to work hard. I will get money. So it's unfair for the other university. Yes. So the other university go, however I work hard, I can't compete with you. So it's a negative. So at this year or last year, this has changed. We don't emphasize the 211 or 98. We have another project initiated, so we will later. Okay, that's another important thing. It introduced the higher education law. It's in August 1988. The first higher education law of the People's Republic was passed by the National People's Congress. It identified the direction for Chinese higher education reform and development in the 21st century, because the law it guides all the elements of higher education. Okay, there's another action plan for revised education for the 21st century. In January 1990, the State Council of the PRC formally approved an action plan for the revised education for the 21st century, framed by the MOE. According to the action plan, the enrollment rate of higher education was to reach 11% by 2000 and close to 15% by 2010. So, I will not show you because that time is limited. Do you know massification of higher education in China? I don't know, it's about the admission ratio in Pakistan.
4%. Only 4%.
Only 4%?
Yes.
True is elite education. Very few. United States. At the beginning of 21st century, Chinese education witnessed a period of unprecedented expansion. It's very expensive, very quickly. It started in 1999. The expansion has quickly moved Chinese higher education from the elite phase to the mass phase in just a few years. Do you know what's the elite phase?
Elite.
And modern American sociology, listen. When the ratio is about is less than 50%, you are belong to elite phase. The mass phase is about 15 to 50% mass phase, and the last one is universal phase is about 50% to 1%. So China is in the mass phase. Now you can see the gross enrollment rate of Chinese education from 1998 to 2015. You can see in 1998 the gross enrollment rate is only 9.8. In 1999, it's about 10.5. Look, the enrollments. In 2006, it's about 20%. 2007. So, in 2015, the enrollments is, and the rate is 40%. So now it's more than 40% the gross enrollment rate. Like Beijing, Shanghai, or big cities, now the enrollment rate gross enrollment rate is about 80%, more than 80% or 90%. Zhejiang province is we are not in Zhejiang province. In China is a developed area. It's about 60%. Zhejiang province, all Zhejiang province, include city and rural areas. But in some western area, some in Tibet or Yunnan province is about only about 30%. So there's a different province, different rate. So it's the average in 50s, 20, 40s rate percent.
I've got a question for you. You know, you can see a massive increase in the ratio of people going to universities. Actually, can you tell us, once they are out of the universities, how easy it is to find a job in China? Actually, because most of the people in Pakistan, because there's poverty out there, yeah. So most of the people, they say that they will not get employment anywhere. So they, rather than going into the education side, they will start their own business.
In China, yes. Employee, if you have graduated, you find a good job is not very easy. Because there are some easy maybe for top university they can find a good job. But most so
like in Europe countries, yeah, European countries or US or Canada or Australia, if you do undergraduation, right?
yeah,
The state is responsible for you to find you a job.
yeah, yes. Well,
They will find you a job whether by hook or by crook, right? Even if they had to take out a brown skin person from the job out, but they will give you the job. What's the state of China government policy?
China government policy. First, some of students they encourage you for further education. For further education you should you can get a master's degree, doctor degree is one, and another the government will encourage you to open you can to not just be employed, you can create your company, you can build your company is another. Another is there are many policies in Chinese government or university encourage you to find a job or create a job. Yeah, that's in fact Chinese government has seen that because many graduates, if there's many students can graduation can find a job, why they go to university?
Exactly.
Yeah, but Chinese government have done a lot of things in China. And they want, in China, there's in rural areas, there's no graduation. They get degrees, university degrees, but they encourage you to, because, many universities are graduation. They want to find a job in big cities, yes. They never look down the rural areas. But the Chinese government encourage you, okay, you should not focus on cities. You can go to the rural areas. So they push them down and give some of you good benefits. For example, if you work in rural areas for 2 years or 3 years, you have some extra advantages. Can become an official, or can become a post, get a master's degree. If you are 2 years or 3 years, you can, when you attend the graduation, because you want further education, yes, you just don't want to get a bachelor degree. I want to get a master's degree. Then you can get special benefits. Something that encourage you to create your company. You can do entrepreneurial space, something like that. So many things. Okay, that's another plan, national plan for medium and long-term education reform and development. It was released in 2010. So there are many reforms now, because time changed quickly. It focuses on the relationship between government and university, the government structure of university. reports in the document by 2010, a number of higher education institutes ought to become institutions which are internationally famous and high level, or to reach or get close to the level of first-class universities. So this is all by our national plan. This is another plan. Okay, there's also an important plan by the Chinese government. The overall plan to move forward the world first-class university, the world first-class disciplines. So this is the plan. This process is want to overcome or repair the bad effects of 211 or 981 projects. This encourages you to disciplines, not universities. You know, universities consist of many disciplines. Yes. If you are not, you should be university. Every discipline is good. If you have one good discipline, I will give you special sports, finance sport to you. So it means that if I'm not 211 project university or 981, like say for example, like Zhejiang University is not 981 project, but if you have good disciplines, your disciplines, one discipline is very, very good. It has rational, the national ranking is higher. I will give you special support. So it means that everyone can join the game, not 211 or 981. So it is based on the experience of 211 project and 985 project. 3 steps taken were clearly mapped out. I will not see clearly. It's the first step. The second step, you can see. So everything I think is have long term in China. Long term, it's just not focused on this year or next year. It's about long term. China have how to say long term policy. Maybe in 10 years, have to make a plan. So it is the plan. I will show you that some rankings of China's university. This is an academic ranking of world university. You know this academic ranking of world university?
Yes.
Is by China's Shanghai Jiaotong University. It's released by every year.
Which is the #1 university of China?
It's Tsinghua University. It's about it's 20.
Tsinghua?
It's last year's. This year's has this several years ago. Tsinghua is not 58 last year, but now it's 48. So like 48 now. It's 48 now. Yeah, it's in Beijing. And the second is Peking University, also in Beijing. It's 71. It's also 71, the same. But Tsinghua is 10 or the 10 ranking.
10 rank.
Yeah. Today is 48. 48. So this last I don't tell you. Also, it's a times education. Do you know? Times education ranking. Another ranking is this year, last year's. Peking is 29, and Tsinghua is 75. Hong Kong, 43. And the QS quality is also very. Then China in the world there are 4 rankings is very, very
Reliable.
yeah, reliable. It's very, you can use it on all sorts. Is a Tsinghua is 25, Peking is 38, Fudan University in Shanghai 40, Shanghai Jiaotong University is 62. And you can see many in top 100. And U.S. News is an American one. U.S. News is also reliable. Peking is 41, Tsinghua is 59, is 2060. Fudan is 1966, 96. Zhejiang University, you see, Zhejiang is 106. But every year, China's university ranking is up every year.
Now the question is, in two ranking systems,
Yeah.
we see Peking at the top,
Yeah.
and two ranking we see at the bottom, at the second.
Yeah.
So we see this fluctuation. So maybe there is some change in the criteria.
Yeah, yes. Because different rankings have different criteria for ranking. For example, if someone put very emphasis on the publication paper, some emphasis on the alumni, some on the
It has got at least 20 indicators.
different
The
indicators.
space, level,
Some emphasize on reputation, the academic reputation. Some different, but they have all but because they are all the forward one, famous one. They will the reliable one, so they always put it here. But you say different ranking, different rankings. So, but we can tell you the general picture. But we should not follow because we cannot believe in every ranking. But it just we will as a reference. We can see what's your rankings in the world. Something like that. Most of the America or England top 10. Okay, that's another guidance on the work of education opening up in the new year. In 2016, some guidance. I can say that. It's for opening up 6 priorities. That's another. This is not for world-class university. It's for the opening up, studying abroad, improvement the quality of overseas education, enhance the level of foreign education in China. The fourth, you can see the implementation of the Belt and Road Educational Initiative promoting collaborations among all countries around the route. So Pakistan also is on the
Part of Belt and
one of the Belt and Road on the around the route. Yes.
Belt and Road is the concept of Pakistan to other, or it's the concept of 6 roads among the world.
Yeah.
This idea is comprises of only 1 road or 6 roads. You have Chinese government has already decided to create new roads. Do you understand my question? I'm just asking the Belt and Road. What is the Belt and Road theory? Would you like to explain?
Belt and Road. Do you know what Belt and Road? Do you know Belt and Road? This is Xi Jinping proposed one bird. In ancient times, there are one bird and road for trade. In ancient times, maybe 2,000 years ago, one bird, one road. One road is a silk road. In one bird. Yeah, it's why it's from sea. From sea. In Ming Dynasty, in 15,000 years, Ming from China to Kenya, African, as one bird, one road.
You know, there is a buzzword in Pakistan that is called CPAC.
Yeah, seabird.
Yeah. Do you know anything CPAC? Because since we are here, we have forgotten this word CPAC. Because in Pakistan we hear it after every 5 minutes. CPAC.
Yeah.
Every politician say it, every intellectual say it, every journalist say it, every teacher say it. Like people want jobs for it. People are learning Chinese so that they can be part of CPAC. But in China, since we are here since Thursday.
One road, one bird. Seabird. I know one bird. In ancient times, in Chinese do business with other countries. One is by the on the land is from the Xinjiang province to Pakistan or something, Russia to India,
No,
from
not India.
another India, from to
England.
to Middle East, from and to the Europe. Why is on land? Why is by the sea? To Guangdong, from the Thailand, from the Indonesia, and from Sri Lanka and to Africa, to Kenya today, because they, how to say, archaeology, they found there are many ancient China is China found in Kenya is found, so this is from it was from by the sea, it's on land, so it's a belt and the road is they want to connect different continents, so it's one also for business at this time. They call a new one called the Silk Road Scholarship. Silk Road Scholarship. We will found 10,000 freshmen and near to China. Oh, these are many talents. So we will make some conclusion. Is the distinguished characteristics of higher education in China. We can say it's centralized management. Centralized because the government make many plans. It's not by yourself. Okay, I will give you long term. Make the centralized, and the president are selected by the government, not professor or students. Okay, one vote, not. I will appointed by the government. And large scale, many students. There are many 23 million students in university now, and more than 3,000 colleges and universities in China. Different layers. We see as a top university, 981, 211, and like Zhejiang University is a key university of Zhejiang province and supported by Zhejiang province. Different universities get different supports from different parts. Some are get special supports from the Ministry of Education. Some are Ministry of Commerce, Ministry of Agriculture. Different. Like Zhejiang University, where you are, is get support by the Zhejiang province. So different province and some from this MOE and the pragmatic trend. They are for society, for social and economic development. It's very pragmatic. It's not only focused on pure sciences. It's for pragmatic use. And 4, 5 is various forms. What I have told you just focus on formal education. That's some different many informal, some like distance education, some adult education. At this time is a summer vacation, but you can see many people on campus. They are receive adult education now. So it's just not a formal education. So many different forms. But also is the dilemmas. Dilemmas from elite and university. They should focus on some universities or some students or just universal. And quality and quantity, there must be massification or higher education. It means a lot of students will go to universities. But how can you make sure the quality of teaching? This problem. And also, it's government control and the university autonomy. Government in China, the government control many aspects of university, especially the financial support. They control the university and I told you, the president of many Chinese universities, not every, are appointed by government. It means they are not independent. They are not autonomy. But the university, they want autonomy. They want to independent. So this dilemma. Also, that basic research and applied research is all dilemmas. You should for the choose for discovery it may also focus on basic education or pure research. But I see that's a pragmatic trend. It means applied research. They want your invention or discovery can make the economy prosper. And also, DMS is administrative authority or academic power. In university in China, the president or the dean has much power, many powers. The professors, the power, they are diminished. So this DMS, all the problems at university, we are trying to solve all the problems. All DMS, they are now doing reforms and now want to solve this. So I have a question. As a cultural outsider, what can we learn from China's education? Oh, this is my question.
Yeah.
Okay, we can see before with the discussion, we can see a video. Do you know? I don't know whether you have seen this video before. It's by Moyo, by this woman. It's a video. Do you know? Do you know this woman? It's a very famous. She's a Zambia-born international economist who analyzed the macroeconomic and global efforts. She currently serves on the board of Paris. And his New York Times best-selling books. That is why it is not working and how that's better way for Africa. Okay, this her picture.
Liberty or give me death.
Do you see this video before?
When Patrick Henry, the governor of Virginia, said these words in 1775, he could never have imagined just how much they'd come to resonate with American generations to come. At the time, these words were earmarked and targeted against the British. But over the last 200 years, they've come to embody what many Westerners believe, that freedom is the most cherished value, and that the best systems of politics and economics have freedom embedded in them. Who could blame them? Over the past 100 years, the combination of liberal democracy and private capitalism has helped us to catapult the United States and Western countries to new levels of economic development. In the United States, over the past 100 years, incomes have increased 30 times, and hundreds of thousands of people have been moved out of poverty. Meanwhile, American ingenuity and innovation has helped to spur industrialization and also helped in the creation and the building of things like household appliances such as refrigerators and televisions, motor vehicles, and even the mobile phones in your pockets. It's no surprise then that even in the depths of the private capitalism crisis, President Obama said, the question before us is not whether the market is a force for good or ill. Its power to generate wealth and to expand freedom is unmatched. Thus, there's understandably a deep-seated presumption among Westerners that the whole world will decide to adopt private capitalism as the model of economic growth, liberal democracy, and will continue to prioritize political rights over economic rights. However, to many who live in the emerging markets, this is an illusion. And even though the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which was signed in 1948, was unanimously adopted, what it did was to mask a schism that has emerged between developed and developing countries and the ideological beliefs between political and economic rights. This schism has only grown wider. Today, many people who live in the emerging markets, where 90% of the world's population lives, believe that the Western obsession with political rights is besides the point. And what is actually important is delivering on food, shelter, education, and healthcare. Give me liberty or give me death is all well and good if you can afford it. But if you're living on less than $1 a day, you're far too busy trying to survive and to provide for your family than to spend your time going around trying to proclaim and defend democracy. Now, I know many people in this room and around the world will think, well, actually, this is hard to grasp, because private capitalism and liberal democracy are held sacrosanct. But I ask you today, what would you do if you had to choose? What if you had to choose between a roof over your head and the right to vote? Over the last 10 years, I've had the privilege to travel to over 60 countries, many of them in the emerging markets, in Latin America, Asia, and my own continent of Africa. I've met with presidents, dissidents, policymakers, lawyers, teachers, doctors, and the man on the street. And through these conversations, it's become clear to me that many people in the emerging markets believe that there's actually a split occurring between what people believe ideologically in terms of politics and economics in the West and that which people believe in the rest of the world. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying people in the emerging markets don't understand democracy, nor am I saying that they wouldn't ideally like to pick their presidents or their leaders. Of course they would. However, I am saying that on balance, they worry more about where their living standard improvements are going to come from and how it is their governments can deliver for them than whether or not the government was elected by democracy. The fact of the matter is that this has become a very poignant question because there's, for the first time in a long time, a real challenge to the Western ideological systems of politics and economics. And this is a system that is embodied by China. And rather than have private capitalism, they have state capitalism. Instead of liberal democracy, they have deprioritized the democratic system. And they have also decided to prioritize economic rights over political rights. I put it to you today that it is this system that is embodied by China that is gathering momentum amongst people in the emerging markets as the system to follow. Because they believe increasingly that it is the system that will promise the best and fastest improvements in living standards in the shortest period of time. If you will indulge me, I will spend a few moments explaining to you first why economically they've come to this belief. First of all, it's China's economic performance over the past 30 years. She's been able to produce record economic growth and meaningfully move many people out of poverty. Specifically, putting a meaningful dent in poverty by moving over 300 million people out of indigence. It's not just in economics, but it's also in terms of living standards. We see that in China, 28% of people had secondary school access. Today, it's closer to 82%. So in its totality, economic improvement has been quite significant. Second, China has been able to meaningfully improve its income inequality without changing the political construct. Today, the United States and China are the two leading economies in the world. They have vastly different political systems and different economic systems, one with private capitalism, another with broadly with state capitalism. However, these two countries have the identical Gini coefficient, which is a measure of income inequality. Perhaps what is more disturbing is that China's income equality has been improving in recent times, whereas that of the United States has been declining. Thirdly, people in the emerging markets look at China's amazing and legendary infrastructure rollout. It's not just about China building roads and ports and railways in her own country. She's been able to build 85,000 kilometers of road network in China and surpass that of the United States. But even if you look to places like Africa, China has been able to help tar the distance of Cape Town to Cairo, which is 9,000 miles or 3 times the distance of New York to California. Now, this is something that people can see and point to. Perhaps it's no surprise that in a 2007 Pew survey, when surveyed, Africans in 10 countries said they thought that the Chinese were doing amazing things to improve their livelihoods by wide margins, by as much as 98%. Finally, China is also providing innovative solutions to age-old social problems that the world faces. If you travel to Mogadishu, Mexico City, or Mumbai, you find that dilapidated infrastructure and logistics continue to be a stumbling block to the delivery of medicine and healthcare in the rural areas. However, through a network of state-owned enterprises, the Chinese have been able to go into these rural areas using their companies to help deliver on these healthcare solutions. Ladies and gentlemen, it's no surprise that around the world, people are pointing at what China's doing and saying, I like that, I want that. I want to be able to do what China's doing. That's the system that seems to work. I'm here to also tell you that there are lots of shifts occurring around what China is doing in the democratic stance. In particular, there's growing doubts among people in the emerging markets when people now believe that democracy is no longer to be viewed as a prerequisite for economic growth. In fact, countries like Taiwan, Singapore, Chile, not just China, have shown that actually it's economic growth that is a prerequisite for democracy. In a recent study, the evidence has shown that income is the greatest determinant of how long a democracy can last. The study found that if your per capita income is about $1,000 a year, your democracy will last for about 8.5 years. If your per capita income is between $2,000 and $4,000 per year, then you're likely to only get 33 years of democracy. And only if your per capita income is above $6,000 a year will you have democracy come hell or high water. What this is telling us is that we need to first establish a middle class that is able to hold the government accountable. But perhaps it's also telling us that we should be worried about going around the world and shoehorning democracy, because ultimately we run the risk of ending up with illiberal democracies, democracies that in some sense could be worse than the authoritarian governments that they seek to replace. The evidence around illiberal democracies is quite depressing. Freedom House finds that although 50% of the world's countries today are democratic, 70% of those countries are illiberal in the sense that people don't have free speech or freedom of movement. But also, we're finding from Freedom House in a study that they published last year that freedom has been on the decline every year for the past 7 years. What this says is that for people like me who care about liberal democracy, is we've got to find a more sustainable way of ensuring that we have a sustainable form of democracy in a liberal way, and that has its roots in economics. But it also says that as China moves towards being the largest economy in the world, something that is expected to happen by experts in 2016, that this schism between the political and economic ideologies of the West and the rest is likely to widen. What might that world look like? Well, the world could look like more state involvement and state capitalism, greater protectionisms of nation states, but also, as I just pointed out a moment ago, ever declining political rights and individual rights. The question that is left for us in general is, what then should the West be doing? And I suggest that they have two options. The West can either compete or cooperate. If the West chooses to compete with the Chinese model, and in effect go around the world and continue to try and push an agenda of private capitalism and liberal democracy, this is basically going against headwinds. But it also would be a natural stance for the West to take, because in many ways it is the antithesis of the Western Chinese model of deprioritizing democracy and state capitalism. Now, the fact of the matter is, if the West decides to compete, it will create a wider schism. The other option is for the West to cooperate. And by cooperating, I mean giving the emerging markets countries the flexibility to figure out in an organic way what political and economic system works best for them. Now, I'm sure some of you in the room will be thinking, well, this is like ceding to China. And this is a way, in other words, for the West to take a back seat. But I put it to you that if the United States and European countries want to remain globally influential, they may have to consider cooperating in the short term in order to compete. And by that, they might have to focus more aggressively on economic outcomes to help create the middle class and therefore be able to hold government accountable and create the democracies that we really want. The fact of the matter is that instead of going around the world and haranguing countries for engaging with China, the West should be encouraging its own businesses to trade and invest in these regions. Instead of criticizing China for bad behavior, the West should be showing how it is that their own system of politics and economics is the superior one. And instead of shoehorning democracy around the world, perhaps the West should take a leaf out of its own history book and remember that it takes a lot of patience in order to develop the models and the systems that you have today. Indeed, the Supreme Court Justice Stephen Breyer reminds us that it took the United States nearly 170 years from the time that the Constitution was written for there to be equal rights in the United States. Some people would argue that today there is still no equal rights. In fact, there are groups who would argue that they still do not have equal rights under the law. At its very best, the Western model speaks for itself. It's the model that put food on the table, it's refrigerators, it put a man on the moon. But the fact of the matter is, although people back in the day used to point at the Western countries and say, I want that, I like that, there's now a new person in town in the form of a country, China. Today, generations are looking at China and saying China can produce infrastructure, China can produce economic growth, and we like that. Because ultimately, the question before us and the question before 7 billion people on the planet is how can we create prosperity? People who care and will pivot towards the model of politics and economics in a very rational way to those models that will ensure that they can have better living standards in the shortest period of time. As you leave here today, I'd like to leave you with a very personal message, which is what it is that I believe we should be doing as individuals. And this is really about being open-minded. Open-minded to the fact that our hopes and dreams of creating prosperity for people around the world, creating and meaningfully putting a dent in poverty for hundreds of millions of people has to be based in being open-minded. Because these systems have good things and they have bad things. Just to illustrate, I went into my annals of myself. That's a picture of me. Oh. I was born and raised in Zambia in 1969. At the time of my birth, blacks were not issued birth certificates, and that law only changed in 1973. This is an affidavit from the Zambian government. I bring this to you to tell you that in 40 years, I've gone from not being recognized as a human being to standing in front of the illustrious TED crowd today to talk to you about my views. In this vein, we can increase economic growth, we can meaningfully put a dent in poverty. But also, it's going to require that we look at our assumptions and strictures that we've grown up with around democracy, around private capitalism, around what creates economic growth and reduces poverty and creates freedoms. We might have to tear those books up and start to look at other options and be open-minded to seek the truth. Ultimately, it's about transforming the world and making it a better place. Thank you very much.
In fact, the time has, because as planned, we finished in 11 a.m. So I should tell you that everything, the Chinese healthcare system has good things and bad things. Yes, I have shown you, but I show you just a small piece of Chinese education history. In a morning, long history, I just concentrate in one morning. So I just show a general picture. It's not so. I can hope you'll be interested. You can read some books in the future. So if you have questions, you can ask me now. Because we have time has passed. If you have no question, you can go and have rest. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
What?
Thank you very much.
Thank you. But I have told you that my English is not not very good. So, can you speak Chinese?
No.
No.
If you can speak Chinese, I can tell you more stories about China.
But you had very good English.
Thank you. You know, I have many things I don't know how to change into English.
You understand? Ni hao, yeah.
Okay, you know.